so that I can see. All right, welcome everyone to the Tuesday, October 10th Committee of the Whole Admin and Operations meeting. The second item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight? Any additions, any rules, any? No, none. All right. I need a mover for approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Smale. All in favor? Okay, disclosure of pecuniary interest, conflict of interest, and the general nature thereof. Does anyone have any disclosures to make or? Hearing none, then we'll move on to the business arising from the previous committee of the whole meeting minutes, if there are any. Anyone have any business arriving from the minute? Councillor Martel.
Through you, Mr. Chair, PCO, do we get a chance to talk to the county about putting up a more formal crosswalk while we're doing the number 2?
Through the chair, we certainly have asked for construction contractor to put the conduit across at Canada Road 2 at Hitchcock Street, so that at least it's there if we look to move forward with a crosswalk. We're still in conversation. So we'll have that in place.
Another one?
Sure.
Through the chair again, any movement on the canal? We had mentioned it may be ready for tonight, the report and so.
Through the chair, I did have a conversation with Save Nation, and they are reaching out to Colin. So hopefully, as soon as I get that information, I'll have a report back on that. It didn't come together for this meeting.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure. Absolutely. Did we? I think I'll just. One question on to Councillor Martell's to the CAO. So for the crosswalk for the Highway 2, they're going to do the conduit. They're going to for the potentiality for it. Is that Walker Street or?
That would be
Dishaw Street. Okay.
The primary crosswalk.
And you did say that you did, like, we have talked to the counties about that, or we've begun.
We did signal to the county about that crosswalk.
So if there is information, we'll see it. Yeah. Good. Thank you. Further, anyone? Business arising? No more? You're exhausted, Councilor Martel? All right, on to number 5 then, delegations and presentations. And delegation A is baseload power. They're going to speak about the Ventnor Battery Energy Storage Project. Gentlemen, welcome. If get you to introduce yourselves in 1 second. Before you do, roughly 10 minutes. I'll set a timer for 10 minutes, so we'll try to keep it to 10 minutes if possible, and then we'll open the floor up to round questions if you're willing to entertain some questions. Good. Well,
thank you very much, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and all the councillors. That really appreciate allowing us to speak to you today about our project. My name is Jonathan Sandler. I'm the president of Baseload Power. My colleague Chief Ratcliffe. We have been in the business of renewable energy development for almost 20 years. We have developed wind farm projects, solar farm projects across the province. I think in total we're probably responsible for about 5%. Originating 5% of the total amount of renewable energy in the province. And so we take a lot of care and focus on developing really good projects that work for the province and for the community. We're involved in, as I mentioned, energy storage, renewable energy, as well as we have a portfolio of EV charging stations across Ontario and Quebec. To date, we've been responsible for about $1.5 billion of electricity infrastructure investments, representing about 1.1 gigawatts of electricity, with a portfolio of about 2.5 gigawatts of new projects that are developed. In terms of Ontario electricity system and the needs of the province, you probably have heard this a little bit already, but just to recap, In terms of what's going on right now, the province is looking for about 4,000 megawatts of new electricity resources by 2028. And primarily this is due to the shutdown of the nuclear facility in Pickering, the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions that the province and the federal government is very focused on, getting a hold of, as well as population growth and the electrification of transportation, as well as general industry. So right now, as a province, we have surplus electricity at nighttime. In the past years, we were actually having to sell that electricity at a loss to our neighbors in New York or Quebec or Manitoba, and then we would have to buy it back during the peak times when we needed it to turn on the lights, when everybody got home and put on their air conditioning. So we have this excess supply of electricity at nighttime, and energy storage is a great way to store that power in our own province rather than shipping it elsewhere, and then we can use it when we need it. So the province of Ontario, in its agency, the Independent Electricity System Operator, which the acronym is the ISO, they are running a number of competitive tendering processes right now. They ran one in February of this year, and the next one's coming up in December. And so we're going to be working on this project for that upcoming RFP process. The RFP is done on a bid evaluation using price, also municipal council support, and First Nation partnerships. Those are the key criteria that they're looking at. In terms of what battery energy storage system is, you've probably seen this slide many times over, but effectively you have the battery modules, you have the battery electricity converters, and you have a cooling system. Also, there's advanced fire and safety systems that are built into each container, and a project of this size will have multiple containers on the site. In terms of fire management, there's gas sensors, smoke sensors, temperature sensors for each battery module, and there will also be a communication system with the main control system, control house of the project to communicate, if there is a problem, if there's overheating, which container specifically has the problem, and then our team and whoever the other parties that are involved, if necessary, the fire department can address the specific issue, and knowing very well where the problem is, and obviously doing it in a safe manner. In terms of the benefits of energy storage, it doesn't create any new electrons. So it's really not classified as generation, it's actually more classified as supporting infrastructure for the transmission system. Battery energy storage does not create greenhouse gases, which is unlike natural gas projects that are also used for the same purpose as energy storage. The recent RFP that was just run by the government actually demonstrated that energy storage projects came in less expensive than new or expansion natural gas. I think that was quite a surprising fact for the province. We were thinking that natural gas would be cheaper, but it turns out that that's actually not the case. In terms of how it will save electricity consumers across the province, as I mentioned before, when you have excess supply at nighttime that we were selling or having to sell at a loss or at $0 to our neighbors, now we can store that electricity, so we no longer are losing money on selling it. Similarly, when we need the power, we can discharge the battery during peak times. We don't have to buy that same electricity again from our neighbors and at premium prices. So this all of a sudden will save all of Ontario electricity consumers. And the other thing that energy storage does is because it's local, it can actually support the grid and reduce the need to build new transmission lines. In terms of the specifics of the project is located on Bednor Road. That's where the access point would be. We're looking at approximately 25 acres in total, and that would include the road system, the electrical connection, and the electrical line that is required to connect the project. The estimated megawatt size is approximately up to 300 megawatts, and the duration of the battery would be 4 hours. So what that means is that the battery is charging probably for 5 or 5.5 hours at night, and then discharging for 4 hours during the peak times. We took a lot of care to make sure that we picked the right spot for the battery project. And really the main issue that batteries have to manage is noise. So setbacks from any house or any future house is really a critical element. And we looked at this project to be focused on at least a setback of about 750 meters or more. It is on private land and it's outside of any environmentally sensitive areas. And we've confirmed with the ISO that this location would help provide reliability and flexibility for the grid in the area. So this is just a key map of where the location is. As I mentioned, the project is located off of Denton Road. This provides a more detailed map. And just to walk you through quickly, the parcels that we are working with are colored in sort of a light red. The battery area would be located in the blue section, blue square. The connection point is in yellow, and the orange lines that are cutting across the map, those are the actual existing power lines. And the new power line that we would have to build is the green one that's coming from the blue battery area to the connection. Now stop there, please. Okay. So in terms of local benefits, this is the key element. The contract that would be, if we are successful in the RFP, there is a contract that the government will award for this project. The contract would be a 20-year contract. And as part of that, we would have a community benefits agreement with the municipality, and the community benefit payments would be continuous throughout the 20-year period. There is an opportunity to upgrade and expand the project down the road or re-energize the project after the 20 years, but that would all be done in concert with the ISO. There would also be increased tax revenues for the community, and we would, as you can imagine, these construction projects are quite expensive. Our goal is to utilize as much local material and resources, labor, and other service industries as much as possible. It saves us money and it also benefits the community, so it's a win-win for everybody. The other thing I think is definitely worth noting is that having a local energy storage system in municipality, it can help to potentially improve some of the local electricity system quality, reliability, and security. It may adjust some of the voltage, any voltage dips that may be experienced, and may actually help to support the grid to then encourage other industry to also locate here. In terms of the road use, we would be looking to bring the equipment along Ventnor Road. So we would enter into road use agreements with the municipality, making sure that we're responsible for any damages and repairs and maintenance over the course of the project. The other thing that's really interesting about and beneficial about energy storage is that it uses a much smaller footprint than the alternatives, especially solar, wind, and natural gas. In terms of permits and approvals, I think we're close to the 10-minute mark, but I'll just quickly
Keep going, you're fine.
In terms of the permits and approvals, so the municipality still has full control over the project through the zoning and site plan control process. The municipality would only begin, that process would only begin if the project was approved under the ISO RFP. So we're only here tonight as an opportunity to provide information to council and share more about the project and answer any questions that you may have. The project also has to meet all the noise guidelines and requirements of the province. The project would be also have to fall under what they call the provincial class environmental assessment or class EA process, which is exactly the same thing that Hydro One goes through for any of its transmission stations and transmission lines. In terms of the noise guidelines, we would have to meet obviously stormwater management plans, entry permits, conservation authority requirements, and any other construction related requirements that are set out. We have spoken with the conservation authority, and they indicated that, if I can just go back to the map, there is a river just to the west of the project location. And so the feedback so far has been that there's no flooding issue, but they do want to do a little bit more work to assess that if there is a floodplain concern. The location that we've chosen on this particular property is actually the highest point on the property. So we're taking good care to avoid any floodplain concerns. In terms of, there are additional tables, we provided more information to council about, you know, the potential impacts and mitigation measures that we would employ, which is added at the bottom of this slide here under dependencies. But I'll just look to, one of the things that, as part of this RFP, we are looking for the municipality to provide us with some support. And the support actually that we're looking for is not an approval, it's just support in principle for the concept of the project. In that, you know, in general, this project seems interesting and it's attractive to the municipality, but it does not provide us with any approvals, and we still would be subject to all of the regular municipal approval processes and permits. We did note that, I guess, in the current official plan, that these types of projects are permitted in any any use, I guess, whether it's rural land or agricultural land. So, but there's still obviously site plan control, and if there is a zoning issue that we have to address, we will definitely do that. So this municipal support is not, as I said, it doesn't provide with any approvals. It's just a general support for the project. One of the things that we noted was that, you know, we provided a list of the other municipalities that have provided similar municipal support resolutions for similar projects. And, you know, some of them are located in close proximity, others are, you know, spread across the province. There's in the presentation we provided these items in blue, provide a hyperlink, so you can click on there and go and you'll pull up the resolution if you're interested. In terms of continued engagement, so we've had a pre-consultation meeting with the municipality. As I mentioned, we've had a pre-consultation meeting with the Conservation Authority. We're in discussions with First Nation partnerships and consultations. And we are going to be holding a public open house in the next couple of weeks. We will be sending out an invitation to all of the mayor and councilors, as well as the neighboring residents of the project. And this will be a public open house for anyone to attend. The results of the public open house, as well as any other updates, we would greatly appreciate an opportunity to come back before council sometime in November and present the findings, the result of the open house, the feedback from the community, and at that time we would ask if council and everybody, you know, would be interested in supporting the project. So yeah, there's more tendencies here to talk about the impacts. I can walk through them if you're interested. I know we're running out of a little bit of time, but happy to continue on if there's interest or.
I think we'll stop there if that's okay. I think the group has had the opportunity on a couple of occasions now to have these discussions. So let's leave it there, and then we'll open it up for them to have questions if that works okay for you guys. Is that good? All right, there should be lots. So where do we want to start? All right. Cool.
As the mayor was highlighting, you're the third company that I've seen anyways with the solar approach, the battery management system. And in fact, you're the second in 9 days, I guess it is now. So it's pretty fresh in our even my memory, I guess, at this point in time. So and so echoing some of the concerns that we talked about with the previous with the other company as well is regards to fire, and we talked about the fire suppression system for the system itself, which is great. And you know, there's a lot of confidence there. But you know, when I take a look at the map, it looks like you've got quite a distance set back from the road, which I can appreciate why you're doing that. That's great. But that obviously puts in a big roadway that needs to be up to the standard to be able to get fire trucks and heavy equipment in and maintained through the winter. Can you talk to the safety aspect of that and what that looks like as far as how we can rest assured that we can get in there if there is an emergency that needs it?
Yeah, absolutely. So for our purposes, just, it's similar to fire management, every piece of the system has to be maintained on a regular basis. So we do need a very strong road. We'll be bringing in heavy trucks for each container, and we'll be maintaining that road throughout all 4 seasons. It will be a 4-season road. It has to, be up to the standard, because if we had to ever replace a container, then we've got to be able to bring a crane in. We have to be able to obviously unload it and ship out the container systems. So similar to the fire department, we have to have a 4-season road that's fully serviced on a regular basis.
Sounds good. And then I guess that you touched on everything I was looking for that answer. That's great. Then as far as capacity, as we talked about, you're the second one in 9 days, and they're just across Shanley Road essentially is the second they're looking at. Does that become a capacity? Is it? Are you guys going to be in a race, or is this something that the line can support both projects? I guess is my question. If you know that answer, if you don't.
Yeah. We've done a study, and we do believe that there is room for more than one project, but it is a competitive process. And so there's this particular power line does traverse across multiple municipalities. And so there will be other projects, other municipalities also looking to connect to the same line. So there will be multiple projects that are looking to use the same circuits. And so, yes, it is a competitive process, and unfortunately not everybody will be selected, but hopefully everybody will have the municipal support. And then it kind of comes down to the price, beyond like in fairness, and that the lowest price is the best for the province and for all the ratepayers. So at that point, it really kind of comes down to, okay, well, which project is going to benefit the ratepayers the most?
Just one thing that the province also conducted studies earlier this year as part of the vulnerability test. They asked proponents to come forward with their projects and give them technical details, and they did an analysis and reviewed the power lines and came back and qualified projects that move forward through the process. And so both our project and the project that we're entering this week cleared through that process and was approved to continue along in these discussions.
Excellent. Thank you. Bit of a race, but I get the contact.
A bit of a race, but that's part of the business. And just to back up to the question of the road, yes, as you mentioned, it is a long road. The reason for that is because we want the noise setback. So that's why. Otherwise, we would love to put it closer. It would be less expensive, but noise is really a concern of ours. We want to make sure that nobody hears the system and nobody sees that our law.
And it's a concern of ours too, if it becomes a concern for sure.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you. It's good. You good? I think other questions can be answered by other people. Yeah. John?
I guess just one, what's the overall estimated construction value of the township would see on this project being built?
In terms of the dollars being spent in the
Dollars being spent in the township.
well, if the project was to be set out at the maximum level, we're talking definitely in the multiple tens of millions of dollars, maybe even 100 million. And it does depend on, we haven't finalized the exact size of the project, so the more megawatts, the more, the higher the cost. But a lot of the batteries, a lot of the costs up front, the ongoing costs, there is some moving parts with the cooling system, but there aren't tons of moving parts. So the ongoing maintenance is a substantial amount, but it's not the same as if you have moving parts like a natural gas facility or even wind turbines where you have a lot of moving parts. So we're looking at probably $100 million or so for the construction value.
Would there be full-time employees in the township working? That's built that we'd be looking after this?
Yeah, we definitely want to utilize local resources as much as possible. So at this point in time, we don't have a guarantee to provide this is exactly how many it would be, but if you have the local labor force here, I know we would definitely be wanting to use them. And similarly with local equipment, whether it's backhoes or bulldozers or any kind of construction related machinery, we would want to use it here rather than having to transport it all the way from some other place. So same with local materials, if there's concrete or gravel, aggregate areas that we can utilize. Yeah, so because
Pick up on that.
it's sort of one of those easy ones, it's a win-win because
Basic question is, I want, but the employment, once it's up and running, these projects, how many people does it actually take to look after that?
Yeah. So it's a constant different job, all the way from like site maintenance, like as we mentioned, road clearing, road maintenance. We wanna make sure obviously, like the farmer that's there is still going to be farming the fields. But there will be additional maintenance around that's, to maintain any kind of shrubbery or, other foliage that needs to be maintained. Then actually at the site, you'll have a patrol building. And so somebody would have to see staff there, could be 1 or 2 people, and then there's ongoing maintenance, both just on the battery system themselves, but also the general electrical equipment. So similar to what Hydro One will be maintaining their substations, we've got to do the same maintenance. So for sure, we would look for local, experts that in that area.
Councilor Smith?
Well done, Mr. Hunter, great presentation, by the way, answered quite a bit of my questions he already asked, but concerning safety, like, what can actually happen, how dangerous can it be, can it explode or?
Well, I mean, explosion, yeah, very unlikely situation of explosion, but so there are transformers that are going to be utilized by the projects, exactly the same type of transformers that you would see in the substation. And so usually the large scale transformers do have a bit of an oil element. So there will be a containment system for that oil, but in the worst case, we have seen sometimes a transformer could explode. And that's kind of across the whole province. So it's very rare, but in terms of your question, we have seen those explode. In terms of the battery systems themselves, they are being monitored as on the module level, like the individual battery cell. So what we might see more of is if there is ever overheating, you'll see smoke potentially. And so there's ways to mitigate the smoke. But the system is built in such a way that there's air venting and whatnot to make sure the smoke doesn't then lead to a fire. There's more a situation of a fire than explosion.
So they'll be watched 24 hours a day.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's.
Remote monitoring, on-site monitoring, 24 hours a day.
Thank you very much.
Debbie?
I just have a couple, what is the timeline if you get the contract in December that you'll be starting construction?
So the government, the bidding process is due on December 12th right now. And we're anticipating that the contract awards will happen in March or April of 2024. Then we would have to go through a significant permitting exercise and go through all the approvals that are required for the project. So we're anticipating construction will be sometime in 2025. And it could span 2 years just because we don't really love to construct in winter. You may have a situation where they span 2 years, but the actual on-site activity would probably be closer to 6 months.
And what do we do with the batteries, old batteries that say that aren't any good? Is there a place that you put them? I mean, how do you get rid of them?
Yeah,
How do you-
I'll let James,
It's actually quite a lot of percentage of these batteries with the advent of EVs, like vehicles and stationary battery storage systems. There's a more recycling. Ontario is actually establishing itself quite early in the full supply chain of batteries, all the way from lithium mining north from the Ring of Fire to manufacturing and to recycling itself. There are a couple of battery recycling facilities in the province. So a battery like this that is really critical to the provincial system has higher standards than a battery that a company might have that house their power. So there's opportunity to reduce the battery, it might not be the rental system provided at a second location. Or if it fully is to the point where it's at the end of its life, there is recycling facilities that can. I think a lot of the companies are boasting sort of a high 90, close to 100% recycling rate, where they'll take out the minerals and metals that are most battery, and they can use them mostly in new batteries, but in other manufacturing might require cobalt, lithium, any sort of important metals that you can find in battery.
And this is on agriculture land, approximately 25 acres.
Yes.
Hard to believe, I can't get one house on agriculture land and you guys get to build that. That's hard to believe. Good presentation, I will support you. Thank you.
Counselor?
No, I have nothing at this time, thank you.
Karen, sorry.
Mine is really just about safety. So we talked about a fire, possible explosion. What is the worst case scenario? What if something happened like that? What are the environmental concerns? What could be the worst case scenario?
So, as I mentioned, the transformer, the transformer is its own piece, and the battery, the battery container will be separated from the transformer. So, God forbid there was an issue in one area, it's not going to propagate to the other.
So that can't. So
We're gonna
have
say-
an explosion.
It's gonna be totally separate, so if something happens to the transformer, it's going to be close to the power line, where the battery system is going to be further.
So you're not looking for batteries. On fire and.
So the battery catches on fire, again, this is a very remote situation, but obviously, as your question about worst case, if it does happen, the protocol is actually to ensure that we would have a water reservoir or some sort of water resource, either with the fire department or on site. And the water would be used to cool all of the other surrounding the containers. And the container that's on fire or smoking, it would have to, unfortunately, it has to burn by itself. Water isn't going to extinguish a lithium battery fire. Right. So it can take, 4 to 6 hours or longer, but we've seen, I think, 1 day, worst case scenario.
All of the systems were designed and certified to prevent propagation from batteries module to module. So when John was talking about having water on site, it's another preventive measure to make sure that doesn't happen. But they are all certified to a number of standards to handle any fire happens.
And each container is also separated from each other, so they're not ready to join. So there is some air flowing that can help maintain that temperature.
Thank you.
I have just one or two quick ones if you don't mind as well. So in the material provided, it shows in the picture, it's not an engineered diagram or anything, but just in the picture, it shows, I believe, eight containers. How many containers for 25 acres? Like,
Oh, so you mean the covering? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah, glossy.
it's just
Appropriate. Yeah, so, again, it does depend on the size, like right now at 300 megawatts. If it was that size, we're looking at, I think, over 1,000 containers. But it also depends on which, equipment manufacturer we go with. So for example, Tesla is one of the manufacturing companies that makes these batteries, also, Mitsubishi and Siemens in partnership with another company. So those are some of the top suppliers of the battery containers, and each container is slightly different sizes. So if you were to use a Tesla, it's a bit larger. If you were to use a Siemens partnership one, it's smaller. So it does depend on the manufacturer, how many actual physical containers.
Right.
But yeah, it's not a small number.
right, so it'd be like 1,000 over 25 acre.
Yeah, and 25 acres, we throw that number there because we we like to, we like to under promise and over deliver. So we expect to be less than 25 acres, but if you were to add in the road system and power line and substation, then that's maybe where we get to 25, but the actual battery containers themselves, probably looking closer to 15 acres.
And that total area highlighted in red is how many acres? Roughly offhand.
The area,
Yeah, the
uh,
blue is the site, right?
Sure.
It's the 25 acres,
Blue is the battery site and the red represents the two parcels.
the two parcels.
So maybe hard to see the red, little black line that runs across two parcels.
Okay, that's two.
yeah, it's 2 parcels.
Okay.
And yeah, I would say that, just quick math, it's probably at least 200 acres or more.
Yeah, okay. And one thing you said that was different than what we've heard before. One, you know, the fire management system was always a question.
Yes.
In the past, the noise suppression or the noise issues certainly were raised before as well. We've heard that they do make a bit of noise, and that's not overly liked. But one thing that you said that's different is with the IESO has confirmed that there's a need for them in the area. And a need for them to be built in the area or to service the area, because I thought you said service the area.
Yeah, what I meant, I guess to clarify, it's, the area, like the province wide there's a need province wide.
Right.
But so for example, if we had a project in London area, so everything from London all the way to Windsor, there is no more capacity.
Right.
So that area is kind of blocked off. And so what that says to us is that really the ISO needs power here, you know, towards the east. And it's really between what they call east of Toronto. And so that's sort of from Pickering all the way to basically Ottawa. And what Jake was mentioning before is that we had to submit this site to get kind of conditional approval. And so by them giving us that approval, that means that the area has a need for it, and there is actually space on the power lines for those.
Okay. And I think the last one that I have is do you have, so you submitted this one, have you submitted others in other municipalities?
We do have some other projects in other municipalities, yes. One is in Ottawa area, another project in Cram-A is another location.
I saw them on that.
Rideau Lakes is another, the project here, in here.
Yeah, like I saw
So
those.
you see municipality, so we did submit with another partner, a project in municipality Lakeshore, which is in Essex County.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, that project wasn't selected, but we did get the municipal approval for that project. It was located on agricultural land, and the community was very supportive of the location that we chose. So that project is potentially going to be moving forward under this RFP process. It was submitted back in January, but as I said, it wasn't selected.
Sure, okay. And if I have it right, it's December 12th
Yes,
this year, right?
Yeah.
And then first and second quarter chosen.
somewhere in there, the ISO is always a little
Yeah.
bit foggy in terms of exact deadlines.
Yeah.
But our understanding is that somewhere late first quarter, early second quarter is when they would announce the selected projects. And then from there, we would go into the major development activities, which would be coming before this council again, asking for different site plan approvals and other, permits that were required. We'll be going through this Class EA process in depth and all the other engineering activities that are required.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. To staff, I think for the original proposal we saw, we did a letter of support. Am I right, and things like that for either Cardinal Power or.
The request, it move forward action.
But did we do a letter of support for them?
The council today was prepared to do it.
We were prepared, but we didn't do it. I was just thinking maybe we already had one that we had drafted, but. Okay. Let's be sure.
There is the ISO has prepared a form to help municipalities kind of understand what goes into this letter. So we can provide you a draft.
Yeah, the last question that I'll get there, I was just gonna say. The last question that I would have is, are there other asks for us as a council?
At this time, we don't have any asks at this time, but prior to the bid, I mean, we would love to sit down and discuss the community benefits agreement in more detail. We would love to discuss the tax, the process for calculating, the tax revenue in a little bit more detail, if that's possible. That would also help in what we're bidding back to the government. But it's not a mandatory requirement, but it might be something that we can talk about with the CAO and the staff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's a council thing or.
Starts as a staff discussion, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would definitely like to have that conversation as well.
Good, and then one last one.
You just touched on something, Mr. Mayor, that, so, I mean, given our normal schedule, I think the last time we'd expect to be sitting here approving something would be the council meeting at the end of November, I would think, November 27th or something like that. I don't know if that.
We have a December 12th, don't we? Oh, but it needs to be done before that. Yeah. Worst comes to worst, we could do a special council.
Certainly, I think the aim would be to know that.
That's what
Ideally, I just want to make sure we had that discussion because we often get into that, end up having to have a special community council meeting.
Right.
So,
Yeah, okay.
We were talking to staff just about timing of that, and
Yeah.
our open house planned for kind of the end of October, early November. I think there's a committee meeting on November 6th, maybe.
Yeah.
We were thinking that we would present the updated results of the open house at that time. And I'm not sure if we can ask for support at that resolution, at that count.
I think both of those are appropriate, because it's not the same committee, right? They can do a separate, they can do two delegations as long as they're not the same committee. Yeah, and then at that time, they could ask for that, present that and ask for the report. Yeah, both those are okay.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Great.
So we'll see you in November.
November.
Thank
Okay.
you. All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you very much, Jonathan, James, for your presentation, fantastic presentation. We look forward to further discussions November 6th. Awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Here, you're back. I love you back.
I think that's
Well, it starts in the equal.
Hey,
Excuse me?
you need permission to leave, so I think. No, just messing with you, no. See you, Mr. Mayor. Have a good night, Roy. All right, so on to 5B, which is Don Barry, and Don is coming to us tonight to talk about climate control. Welcome, Don.
Thanks for letting me speak. Not so long, it's 10 minutes, I had to wait. Anyway, my big concern is about the double crested cormorant. Do all you know what a double crested cormorant is?
Yeah.
Yeah. I lived in Cardinal mostly all my life. I started hunting and fishing when I was 16 years old. I can remember the days when the murder was serious. I can remember when I was 25 years old, when I used to go to Lake Ontario, salmon fishing. And I said to my partner, my God, there's a lot of fish in front of us. He said, they're not fish. He said, they're what they call cormorants. And they ruin their fishes. This was when I was 25 years old. He says, when we go out fishing around the island, which used to be a beautiful island. He said, there's no trees, there's no vegetation, all there is guano shit from the cormorants. Because every cormorant, every day, eats 1 pound of fish. And it doesn't matter what fish it is, it eats it. I have sat at the Legion day after day with my binoculars and watched them. It'll even take a 12-inch smallmouth bass. It might take them 10 minutes, they'll swallow it. Anyway, an estimated 143,000 breeding cormorants and 344 colonies eat 1 pound of fish a day. Cormorants lay 1 to 3 eggs every year. Females. On July 31st, 2020, Ministry of Natural Resources announced province-wide fall season on cormorants, September 15th to December 34th. 15 birds per person. So you do the math. That's a lot of birds that you want to kill. 111 days, that's 1,665 birds per person. That's still a lot of birds that they want to kill. Populations of double-crested cormorants are increasing in numbers and distribution across Ontario. Shorelines where cormorant numbers are high, they can negatively affect terrestrial habitat by chemical and physical means through corrosion, acid, guano. The shit that these birds produce, they don't want a person to touch it, let alone anything else. I have seen these birds on the docks in Carter. There's a lot of kids play there. Vegetation that these birds kill, they'll go to they roost in trees at night. They kill every vegetation that they'll kill the tree first, then they kill all the vegetation around it. So the whole ecosystem is gone. No little birds, no frogs, no nothing. So if we don't take care of our river, we're gonna have a problem as far as I can see. So I'm here on behalf of the people that fish along the St. John River, because I've seen the decline of our perch, our rock bass. It's anyway, I'm here for myself and my 3 hunting buddies. Come to council to ask the council to actually buy our shotgun shell. My time is free and so are my buddies. We have boats, we have gas, we're just asking for the price of the shotgun shell to help eradicate some of these birds. I would also ask the municipal authorities to disposable site that would take the dead cormorants out of the shop. Basically all I have.
Thanks, Don. We appreciate it. Certainly, as a fisherman, I know we share Facebook pages often, and I certainly can understand the same concern for cormorants. I see them in front of our house in the creek. We see them all the time. Before I open it to questions or comments from the group for you, I'll say in the past, we've been very supportive. You know, we've had John Courtney out doing the work as the trapper, removing roost trees and, you know, sort of dispersing the birds. It was never the intent to completely cull all the birds. It was to control the population to the best of the ability. That was the intention of what the program that we agreed upon. I think it was almost eight years ago, maybe 6 years ago, something like.
There's a question there. We said that they've taken down some of the trees, right? If you take down a cormorant tree, they'll just move to another tree.
Yep.
Or you're just ruining another good tree Because you've cut down the tree that they're actually gonna be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think the original intention was definitely. Again, it wasn't the complete cull of all of the birds, it was to control the population. So it sort of fell in line with permission from the OPG, because a lot of it's on OPG land, right? So we needed OPG permission to access their land, and we have an agreement with them to access their land and remove those actual roost trees after we disperse the birds and after John killed and collected, you know, however. we do.
That this council has actually taken the steps that they've taken. Because a lot of other municipalities.
Right, and that's what my next point is. We have sent letters to New York State, right? Because a lot of the birds, you know, at Prison Island, they just go to the next island, right? And it's American, we can't do anything about it. So when we disperse them from ours, they go there and we really can't do anything about it. We need their support. So we sent letters to them asking that they do their part. We've sent letters to South Dundas and whatever the I can't think of the upper tier municipality or the upper tier level there, but we sent it to them as well and to the west as well, right? Because everybody has to do their part, and so far there's been zero uptake. So we lead the charge in this, as well as the province with opening it up to the call season. And that's, I think, really the only, we've done and we're doing and we continue to do, I think, our part.
Some of the work part of it might be OFA. The way they type it up in their book is that they leave it to us hunters.
Yeah.
You guys are taking it upon yourself and done like that. I appreciate that. But there is hardly any hunters, duck hunters on this river anymore. Other than the outsiders that come when a river frees up and those good ducks come. I know, as I drove around opening day, there was one boat in your plaza that was on, non-guard.
Yeah, there's so few. There's like, even right, like I said, where we live on the creek, right? There always used to be hunters there, and there's very, very few now. Yeah. So I'm gonna open up to the group. They may have some questions here. Good to answer if they do. So start at your end, John. Do you have anything for?
I don't have much question, they do their shot, I don't know where the township can afford to buy. You buy and shelter, leave them open, as you know, I've hunted all my life, and it's just a case of a township. When I was on a council before, we started the corner patrol, we got flack from people that were shooting, having somebody shoot farmer on, and you know, the west of us here, when they had to bring the police out to protect the hunters for shooting there, and I don't know how really today's council can deal with the flack that they get if they started buying shells for people to go and shoot. So I agree with you, but I just don't know. I'll tell you a funny story. When I used to go fishing over in Henderson Harbor, the people in Henderson Harbor that made their living on fish, taking people out fishing, they went and told high authorities that the cormorants were killing their livelihood. And that they wouldn't do a study, or what would start, would take 5 years to study. The people from Henderson Harbor that went shot those cormorants, they all ended up in jail. 5 years later, they did the study, and they knew those people were right. That's how it goes. I know.
Yeah, I don't think there's any debate on the effect of the cormorants on the fishery. You know, I think that the effects on the fishery are, you see it as well. I mean,
Devastating.
yeah, it's devastating for sure, especially in the small fish.
Not only that, it's hard on the blue herons, the egrets, all the small birds, the turtles. They wipe everything in.
Yeah.
Like the bird watchers that had something to say about me, I said, well, you come to Cardinal. This is my phone number, where I live, bring a lunch and a chair, and I'll take you out and sit you beside a tree with one. I'll let you figure out why I'm shooting.
Yeah, there's nothing. It's like living on the moon under one of those trees. Yeah. Councillor Ward?
Yeah, so, you know, it's funny, not funny, but when you're talking about that, I sort of thought, I know we just talked about recently. Some trees at Legion Park that have to come down, and I was trying to figure in hindsight if that's because of the cormorants or that. I don't think we know the answer here, but
No.
you know, no, I'm not asking for the answer either, I just thought that was a weird coincidence, but. And I couldn't find it, I thought I read it somewhere in some of the recommendations along the way. About a change to hunting season, which I'm assuming is a provincial matter as well, but does anybody follow up with that to see if that's a possibility or?
I think the season begins in May and ends in September, does it not?
There's no season on it.
I think that's the way we,
Alright.
reference that with respect
There's
to
season.
September,
Yeah.
September 15th to December 31st.
Yeah.
Back in 2020, I believe,
It still is.
it still is each year, mid-September to the end of the year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that recommendation was too late in the year to do anything about it is how I read that, but maybe I just, so I don't know if I saw that or just. I thought to myself, I thought I read something about that, so I don't know if there's anything that's there that that we could work with regards to the province, but it just seemed you know, strange to me, but otherwise, no, Mr. Hunter's thoughts, it is kind of hard to start buying bullets for people, unfortunately, I can't see that coming through, so. Just more statements than anything else, but just, you know, it's a conundrum for sure.
No, it's good. Councilor Smith?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for you, Don. How often are you on the river? Like the point I'm trying to get across to you is, do you see an increase in it, or do you see the decrease or
Increase.
increase?
Yeah.
How many would you shoot, you and whoever your two buddies are?
Pardon me?
How many would you kill in a season, you and your two buddies?
Oh, probably a couple hundred, maybe 3, all depends. Some days are good, some days are not. And the steel shot that we have to use today on waterfowl is terrible. And cormorants are very hard to kill. Because they're very small body.
Yeah.
Like you have to let them come to you, you can't shoot at them going away. And recommended never to take a dog to retrieve them. Because their teeth are so sharp that they'll just tear a dog apart.
Oh, no, it's a good thing.
No, I mean, I support you, Don. I know what you're doing. I'm out in the boat. I see them. I'm glad you're hunting.
Mhm.
I appreciate your hunting.
But there's only 3 or 4 of us that are doing it,
Yeah,
other than the guy you hired, but.
yeah, and there's a few people down in Morrisburg too.
Yep.
Who started to do it, but as far as support for your shells. I can't say that we can do anything like that, but I have your support, you know, you got my full support. You do away with as many as you can,
Right.
so. And I would recommend you maybe going down and having a conversation with Seth Dundas. And saying, hey, you know, get on the boat here, because they haven't supported us, so.
No, not at all.
And that's what we need is people like you to go out there,
Yeah.
so.
Not a problem.
Thank
I
you.
just came here and say what I had.
Joe?
Just echoing what I heard, you know, it's clearly a problem for us to shoot 330,000 birds. It's incredible. It needs to be a bigger conversation with bigger players and more than just 3 guys that you see shooting birds over the trees.
Don, you're finished? There are a couple more that might have questions for you.
Sorry, I'm hard to hear.
Sorry, Joe and Karen may have a couple of comments or questions for you. Yeah, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, I'm on the river too, and we fish and cormorants. I would like to get rid of them all, but I mean, I
I don't
support.
wanna get rid of all.
Well, pretty close.
Just take care of it.
Yeah, well, if you don't take care of them, there'll be more and more all the
That's
time,
right.
and since we've been here. Like the population of them has increased, it's crazy, you used to only see 1 or 2.
It's
and-
horrible.
Yeah, it's just nuts, so.
Yeah, it's a bigger problem.
It is a big problem.
Yeah, it is. I can't thank you enough. I appreciate you coming forward,
Hey, no
you
problem.
know, to do it. I appreciate the work you do on the river as a
Yeah.
fellow fisherman, and I echo the sentiments. It's pretty, I don't know that we can get there with buying bullets, but I think the work that you're doing is valuable. I think any work you can do to get our neighbors around us to buy into to doing it.
Right.
As well, will benefit everybody, because the more we can do about it, the better off we are.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, we'll send the letters again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Don. All right, consent agenda item, so. Number 6, items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and no longer require a further discussion. Good night, gentlemen, thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Enacted in one motion, the exception to this rule is that a member may request that one or more items be pulled for discussion and voted on separately. Okay, so does anyone have any items or anything to take out of consent agenda? Hearing and seeing none, going once, going twice, gone. So then the recommendation is that the following consent agenda items be received as presented, and that is item A, the third quarter building report, B, third quarter bylaw report, C, the third quarter facility stats report, and D, the third quarter facility maintenance report. Did nobody wants anything pulled up, any of those four? I'm gonna pull item C, 6C then, I think, to the clerk. My apologies for not giving you prior notice. There's one thing in that report that I think that I want to make sure is just noted in the meeting and for the record. So, do we need to move that? Like, yeah, so I need a mover then to do unless somebody else has anything else they want to do. No. Okay, so I need somebody to move 6, A, B, and D. That the following consent agenda items be received as presented, A, B, and D. Need a mover. Moved by Councillor Martel, second by Councillor Smale. Discussion, none, all in favor? Good, okay, so then. So we move on to discussion items and then we'll come back at 8F for that report, correct? Yeah, okay. So then we're on to Citizen of the Year program review. And you're gonna speak to it, clerk.
Chair, it was brought to my attention, that some individuals would like to discuss how the current year for are currently to organize events. So you'll see on the report, outlined the eligibility that we currently have for both the regular citizen year and the newly created last year youth citizen year. These awards have historically been presented with certificates and a little photo op and runs at the December council meeting and the meeting. Other than during election years, typically we would advertise mid-fall and September onwards to try and as many as possible. We would do website, social media, newspaper. Over the last year, we also created accessible forms for people to apply, like they have for other forms we have on our website. That way, it's to us. Same as what we do for our community grants and donations as well as building forms. I provided a list of past winners. It's been fairly equal over a number of years, the last 2 or 3 years, where it was kind of split amongst the 3 major areas. I didn't go into great detail as like specific streets or roads that the individuals have lived on, just the general, if they were more than 25. Better than much. So we're just looking to see from the council, are they looking for any changes, modifications? Are you satisfied with the program categories for future years? And as a friendly reminder, we are at crunch time right now, so depending on what they propose for modifications, it may continue as is for this year and implemented in the year.
Good. Thank you to the clerk. I know, and I'm not sure if this came because I asked it to be here or or I know I certainly had had this discussion as well. I wasn't sure if anybody else did. Yeah, having been through the process, I guess, several times, I think now this will be the 5th, I believe, that I've been through. It's, I think obviously the addition of a youth of the year last year was fantastic. There's a couple of nights that I think that we underdo, and it's that night, like where we show up at 6, we have a couple cinnamon buns, and we celebrate a citizen of the year. And I just, to me, I think that maybe it should be just a little bit more than that. If it's a fundraising dinner or something that we can give back to the community with maybe to the food bank or something like that, and have one of the churches organize a spaghetti dinner or something like that, and we honor citizen volunteers, and we honor if we get to a citizen of the year, one citizen of the year, that's great. But it's hard for me to believe that there's one citizen of the year. There's so many citizens of the year. There's so many volunteers of the year. There's so many organizations of the year and businesses of the year. And I just think, maybe I'm wrong, but I just think that maybe we can do it, if we use a little imagination. I know it's too short this year. I don't think it's even close to remotely possible this year, but for a bigger discussion, how we honor people. I know a couple of times I've recently, I think we did 3 scrolls. We did one to Caden, one to the Knights. Was it the Knights? Sonic Lodge, yes, and to Utter Comfort, to Mark Comfort as well, right? And there's more, like there's Carter O'Brien, there's the Sloan kid for the 4-H, there's Sheila Bush for the Canadian Medal for golf. There's so many great citizens that I think we're missing out on celebrating. And I don't know. I just think one is great. I think, it's fantastic to have a citizen of the year, but at the same time, we're missing out on some of the great people and the great work that gets done in our community. I know we discussed maybe doing, cards, and we discussed doing letters and sending things out, but I don't know. I think there's a bigger discussion to be had. I don't know if that discussion's tonight or if it, evolves over the next 6 months at a CDC meeting or something like that. But I just wanted it to come up and see if there's something bigger that should be done.
So through the chair, you can't really discuss past nominations. However, I can say in certain years you have struggled where getting nominated for both athletes.
Yep.
And we do everything to possibly let that.
Yep.
Trying to get solutions. And most of our staff are actively in front. We do all of this for the social media, website, newspapers, etc. Are you looking to have it remain as residents, outsiders, organizations, etc., nominate individuals? Are you looking for council to have the opportunity to bring people up?
This is the brainstorm session. So the idea was to have the conversation. That's really my idea, was to have the conversation to see what actually came of the discussion. I think dropping it in everybody's lap and expecting them to come up with fantastic stuff in one night probably doesn't. Wow. When they go away and they think about it and they go, oh yeah, or they're watching their social media and they see every student at South Grenville getting honored for their excellence in academics. Well, a lot of those kids are from this township, and said it in the last term, I'll say it again now. We should recognize those kids, whether that's as citizens of the year. I don't think it qualifies as a citizen of the year, but they certainly should get recognition for that from our township and from our folks. I think that they're fantastic. I get not everybody gets a participation ribbon, right? Like I get that that's the world we live in, but I think I just think we're missing out a little bit, and I do think maybe it's a modernization of the citizen of the year, like what you're saying is that. We do struggle sometimes to get that. I'm not saying I want to do away with that, I think, you know, recognizing more than one might not be a bad idea either, and we certainly could always invite, you know. People to put people forward, you know, I think of when Abby, when in the past, Abby brought forward for the youth citizen of the year, right? And I think of many of the people that we've met in closed session to discuss for citizens of the year, you know, there's been a lot of those folks, so and I don't know, for me, I just think we're just missing out, and I think community involvement, the more community engagement. I know this group's about community. The more of that we get, you know, that night, you know, make it into something big. Like I just think that there's the possibility or the potential there for something a little bigger. This could be just me and you.
With your thought.
Sure.
I do reach out to all the schools, a lot of them confidentiality, they won't share information with us. Unless we see the newspaper is posted. So you're looking to engage more, bring in, more recognition of all sorts of concepts. So potentially creating a wider scope eligibility, not just for citizen of the year, but also instead of recognizing individuals potentially this month here, this month there, maybe collect them all at one time or twice a year and do a big that.
Yeah.
Recognize them all, do the big.
Yeah.
events, and
Volunteer or special
people
person.
that are
appreciate
running
it.
with
Just-
and
just-
guidance, counselor, we see them collect those information as well. Try to,
Yeah, I mean, people may have achievements they want to share, so maybe it's graduation, maybe it's university graduation, or just, you know, just to help engage, you know, to bring people together, you know, and, you know, I've been saying it in the background for a while, I'd love to see another parade around December sometime at some point, so, you know, like we used to do, and that'd be a great time to be able to do something about that potentially as well, so, you know, I'm on board with trying to do more and trying to, you know, to do something about, like I said, achievement awards. Volunteer of the year, I think we have, we just don't, it's not tied to the same time frame. Business of the year, business person of the year, and there's lots, all sorts of things in the citizen of the year, so we got it point there. But like I said, I mean, you know, I'd love to see it around a community event somewhere. You know, of course, I'm partial to a parade in Spencerville with some fireworks, but you know.
John, did you want to?
Well, I don't know whether you just remember it or not. For 4 or 5 years, the Edgeworth Lions Club had a volunteer work night. What they did, but they sent an invitation out to every organization within Edgeworth and asked them to nominate somebody from their group, the most beneficial to their group for that year. And then they were all recognized. I think that's for the township to get in now. You know all the different volunteer groups in the area, request them to nominate one, and we could have an event where you recognize them. Council members then could sit down with maybe those, I think they usually get about 15. You could sit down and look over those 15 nominations and say, okay, we're going to recognize Joe Blow. He of all these 15, we're going to recognize him as the #1 volunteer for the year. You're going to get a big selection. Not like we get lots of times. I don't want to say the numbers we get. All you have served before on council know the numbers we get. At least then you're going to get a big representation, and you're recognizing everybody anyway. It's kind of the Eugene Griffin Awards system for there the year. Every township nominates somebody for economic development, and then you get the big banquet who one's presented. Something the township will maybe organize themselves or ask one of the volunteer groups to organize the thing at the fundraiser and we make the announcements. And cost township, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Groups
And
run for fundraisers, like maybe the mill committee, like. Right, they're always interested, and they're kind of taking volunteers to pretty near every organization around us, you know.
Okay, that's a good suggestion as well. Just to jump in as it's passing back, especially is, you know, we have lots of successes that we don't talk about. Not just individual, but like volunteer group success of the year or something like that, or the, you know, to talk about. I think those are great things to show what's going on in the community and have an event around it. So there, now I'm gonna stop.
Well, and I mean, we've seen this year many groups post about the difficulties of gathering volunteers and the difficulty of keeping volunteers together. And I think, you know, honoring and making sure that you bring people together and maybe engage the next generation of volunteers to come out and encourage them to, you know, take over where others are, you know, well, it's time to pass that torch a little bit. So if that's our role in it somehow, maybe it helps increase volunteering, right? Like that's, just think that this is something bigger than just citizen of the year and youth citizen of the year. You know, I think.
Well, the thing you wanna look at too, every volunteer group, I think every one of us sitting here works it. And volunteers in one group or another. We all know the ones that in our particular group that are great volunteers. I know who works the hardest in the lodge. You probably don't have a clue who works hard. You know who works hardest in the mill.
Yeah.
Steve knows who works hardest and so Ed. Maybe, but nobody else knows. Or if you recognize them, this maybe that gets some of their friends, oh geez, I didn't know they were that busy and involved in that, maybe. They can volunteer.
Yeah, it's good. You actually, you know, I'm kind of like, there was one more thing that. Mr. Hypothetical, then I'm gonna be quiet though. It's about, you know, an event that gets organized, you know, I'd love to say we support it, sponsor it in some way, shape or form. But it is something that I think that's best if we can get a community group to get engaged in it to help coordinate that. Do the effort itself, because I think that's, you know, that's the spirit there, and also, I mean, we're already, yeah, and we also, you know, I don't wanna like staff any more than we do with these kind of discussions, to be honest, so, you know, it becomes difficult for us to manage it, and, you know, if a group gets behind it, we're gonna get a better product, I would think, just the effort that they can leverage, so.
Councilor Smith?
I agree with you 100%. I think everybody should recognize. I know that there's like we can relate to this. There's a lot of volunteer people who never recognized but get chastised for it. Hockey coaches, people like that, and they do good jobs. But I think I agree with you. We should have a discussion and decide what we want to do because there's more than just one person that's a citizen here.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot of people who deserve it, but only one gets, but they should be recognized.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I mean, I love to have a big banquet.
Yeah.
Big chic thing, maybe alternate it from Spencerville, Cardinal Legion every year. Let them, because there's people there, I know, on that, in Cardinal, that I would love them on. They don't do a lot on the outside, but inside, you know, people don't realize how much work they do. Yeah. And I mean, we don't have to just have one. We could have different categories. We could have 6, 7, 8 different categories. And same with the youth. I mean, the first time we ever did last year, right? And we had one. I think we had to work harder to get that. And that's a shame. That's a shame. Even the rest of them, we didn't see 2 or 3. I don't think over the years we're always looking. So I think with a little bit of new blood, it'll help. You know, look organized and get a little bit bigger, like you said, a banquet, and make people aware that we really do care for our community and the volunteers. Yeah, I'm all in. All in.
I like what I'm hearing around the table. I've always liked the concept, but I've always thought it missed the mark. It's really more of a lifetime achievement award than it's ever been. Citizen of the Year award, with, you know, a few exceptions. I am for keeping the status quo for this year. Having a meeting early next year, inviting in the stakeholders, the church groups, the lodge groups, sitting down with them, you know, frying a turkey or something, having a deal and say, hey, you guys wanna do, let the stakeholders who are employing the volunteers and who are the volunteers have a voice in this, and that's gonna generate interest just because you're talking to the people that are actually doing it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna give ownership, and that would be my plan if I was making a plan.
Yeah, there's so many organizations, right?
Oh,
I almost called you Councilor Hunter again. It's so weird, like John. But like John said, everybody has that, that organization, everybody's involved in something, and then your brain gets, you said the Legion, and I'm thinking the ATV Club and First Responders United, and all the different ladies auxiliary at the, that's one that I see all the time, how hard so many of those people work, so, just getting them involved and hearing what they have to say is,
Yeah,
I think it's
really,
valuable, right? Yeah.
One night, come on in, shake your thoughts, they don't show up, then it's back to us, if they do show up, 2 people show up, there's, two
It's
more
true,
people
well,
on the team.
yeah, well, that's a great point, John. Karen?
I think it's a great idea. What about possibly setting up a committee to go through all of these organizations to find it, work with them to find out who the volunteers are, what they're doing. I mean, a lot of municipalities do that. They'll have a committee that consists of maybe a couple of council members and some of the members from the different groups, and then they go through and they make sure they hit all of the different, not just your citizen of the year, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but your volunteers, right?
Right.
Your, youth volunteers for whatever they're doing. There might be a group of them that should be recognized for something that they're doing. Could be one individual, and you could recognize, as you said, the scholars. There's just so much out there that should be, as opposed to one, but I think a committee would be a great way to start it.
Yeah, committee ideas, I'm not a huge fan of a bunch of smaller committees, but for that work.
Like that, it's a big job.
No, it is a big job, and it gets you to that once or twice a year recognition night, right, where
Then
you
you have
do
it
that.
where, and I would do it once a year, where you have enough space that, the families can be there and you can see their family members being recognized, and you make a big deal of it. Local press, whatever, and social media.
I agree.
Make it a big deal. It doesn't have to be a dinner, doesn't have to be a big banquet, but it should be a formal. With the, what's that?
I think it does. Not a big banquet.
Right, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, I really do. I just think that there's something there, and I think, I know that it warrants a bigger discussion with more people than us, like it's been brought up, but for me, the first part was this discussion, making sure that everybody was on the same page or had the same thoughts as I did, and it's not to take away from the potential of a citizen of the year or youth of the year, but there are so many different ways to recognize people, outstanding achievements and awards, and there's so many ways to do it. Like you can't help but think that part of what this council's mandate was that's one thing that they wanted, right? They certainly want to celebrate us, and not us as in us, but us as in community. And I think that's an important thing. So you have the basis, Rebecca, of what you need, or sorry, clerk.
Through the chair, I have a lot of work. I have a lot of.
Sure. Can we bring it back? Are you comfortable at CDC to have a discussion of it at CDC?
I am, and let's have a discussion then, because I also think maybe there's some sort of a round table discussion that
We
could
don't-
be as a result of that, but let's talk about.
But we don't have a discussion at CDC till
We don't have a-
March, though, do we?
February?
February?
Yeah, so I think through the chair, if I'm hearing correctly, citizen of the year will remain status quo
Yes.
for 2023, and then we will look early in 2024 to bring back for a more robust recognition program for volunteers in the community. That's it, we need to implement in 2024.
Yeah, but I think we need, I don't know that we're done this discussion to brainstorm how we want to do that yet. Does that make?
I think what we can do is bring back a few concepts early in 2024 to give some additional brainstorming.
Okay, all right, you got enough then, you think,
I
to,
think, I think
to
we
get
got
us somewhere? Yeah, okay,
to move the yardsticks forward, yes.
all right, does anybody want one last input on any of that then before I move along? We're good, okay, you're. Sorry about calling you by your first name as well. Apologies. That's it right here. Okay. That was okay, help me out, clerk, where are we?
Through the chair. 8C is next for the third quarter.
Third quarter treasury and reserve report. Okay, so I believe the treasurer is here. The treasurer will speak to that.
Yes. So again, the treasury and reserve report, there's 4 attached reports here. Financial report, long-term debt schedule, capital, and reserve fund status. So what I'll do is I'll go through each report individually. And before I move on to the next report, I'll just see if there are any questions or concerns. So the first one we'll look at is the Q3 financial report. Cash is a little bit lower than it was in the prior year. Some of that is due to increased capital expenditures. Some of it is due to the transfers from reserves to cover capital haven't been done yet. I'll do those in Q4. From a township perspective, the interest rate level becomes the same, so there's no point really moving money unless you really need it, and I prefer to just move it once at the end of the year, and that would cover all of the capital that has been done out of reserves. Taxes receivable. It's normal to see that amount go up compared to June to September, obviously with taxes being issued. No real concerns on the tax receivable side. I will use this as an opportunity to mention in this meeting that there was a tax sale that was supposed to be a tender opening tomorrow, and that tender has been canceled. The homeowner came in today and paid all arrears in full, so that tender will not be proceeding. Just wanted to put that out there.
It's great to hear.
Nothing else really of note here. Accounts payable is a little bit lower, which is good compared to last year. It does offset with receivables, so there's no real concern there. Long-term debt, I'll get into that more when we look at the long-term debt schedule, but that's reflective of, I have the full construction loan amount in there. And then since we use some of the GIC proceeds to pay that off, our long-term debt actually went down. And since some of that was used from technically a reserve fund, that's where the GIC was sitting, you see that our period change really isn't that material with the money going in and money going out. But I'll get to that on the reserve report. Any questions on this report before I move to the next? Hearing none, I will go to long-term debt. So as we see here, I've got the Infrastructure Ontario Johnstown drainage in there. So that balance owing won't change until Q1 of 2024. That's when our first payments due. So any payments that were budgeted this year just go back into the budget, and we'll we know what our payments will be next year for that, so it'll be added in. I guess from an overall perspective, we're treading in the right direction as far as where long-term debt is going. Everything is being paid down as it would be expected. You'll see some things come off in 2024, like the fire communications equipment, the cage grader, and I guess likely and also the truck will come off. So all those three will come off in 2024, which is good. And will save us some payments. And more payments will save than what we got, which is always a good thing. Any other questions for next?
Just before we go, yeah. Anyone questions on long-term debt schedule? Chris? No. So, adding to that, we're looking at, what percentage, if we were to use debt now? What are we looking at? You know, when we realize those construction loans, what percentage is that turning into?
Like from, like what low percentage?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with the draw center range is 4.8. That's our lot.
That's our most recent one.
That's our most recent.
That's our most recent.
So the other one, for kind of what you, which we'll talk about later, that's, I won't rate sheets, but until we actually, close to the finalizing, then we'll.
Yeah, it's gonna be around that 5% range, probably.
I would think that 5%.
And I think worthwhile noting here, I know Sean, or to the treasurer, you and I have talked about this. As well about vehicle purchases. And in going into the budget discussions, I think it's worthwhile noting that this time of year, like right now. You see many of the manufacturers, almost all manufacturers, especially for trucks. Half-ton trucks, that sort of thing, that they're anywhere from 10 to 25% off of their sticker values. And they're offering 0% financing on them when, you know, a lot of the financing charges are 5%, 6%, 7%. So we approve in March or April our budget, and then we end up purchasing in April, May, or June. The comment that I want to make right now is if we look at it, or even if we did pre-approvals before budget for next year or something, so that we got the purchasing in this time of year for those, you know, for those vehicles, there's considerable savings. I screenshotted it. I was just going through one of the local dealerships, and I was just shotting the savings. You know, over $20,000 on a vehicle plus 0% financing. You know, if we buy that same vehicle in June, it's 20 grand more, and it's 6.99%. And so it just, looking at this, it just made me think of that for those budget discussions. Anyone else, comments, questions? All right.
And I think that something we can discuss at our strategic planning as far as fleet maintenance and fleet purchasing.
Yeah, when,
so I'll move on to capital. And the one big change from capital from this quarter over last quarter is now we're getting into a good idea as to what capital wants to defer until next year. So I've highlighted a few things. One being the township office and chamber renovations. Obviously, since the decision was to go back to original purpose for council chambers, anything we do for renovation would likely be in 2024. So that money will not be coming out of reserve, and it'll be a discussion item for capital budget. As far as the T5 Tango, we won't get that truck until 2024, so that will be deferred to obviously incur the costs until the truck is actually delivered. So there will be a more fulsome update on that for Q4. Total Ranch base road or road for base replacement. There was a bit of movement on that as far as they will lay down the subsurface, and then we'll just have to wait for it's just the base replacement. Is that correct, Director?
Through the chair, that's correct. It's only base this year. We're looking for a base to budget for next year.
Okay. So that will be done this year. So we're just waiting for the vendor preparedness. Vendor Bridge complete and came in under budget. Weir Road and Addison Street, those two will be deferred till 2024. one thing to notice or to note on that originally, in the original capital plan. It was to do the whole bridge rehabilitation, which is about $730,000. And we only put in the budget what we thought could be done in 2024. So with deferring that to 2024, then you'll see the whole cost of that Ventnor Bridge rehabilitation project. Mary Street Outlet, parts received, so we'll start to commence.
Just stop you for a sec.
Sure.
Treasurer, so the two that are deferred, the Edison Street and the Weir Road, why are they deferred?
The Director of Operations, would you like to?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. So the Weir Road, originally we budgeted to have the expansion joints done this year. Unfortunately, we couldn't find the drawings for it, and the contractor or engineer representative required drawings to write up the tender. So searching through the archives and stuff, we were unable to find them. The Keystone Bridge engineer went through the MTO, and I can't remember the date, I think it's 1978, so any bridge drawings prior to, I think, 1978 are all done by the MTO. So they had them in their archives, searched their iCards, pulled them, and now we have to do it.
Okay, and so.
Sorry, and the availability of the engineer diminished towards the end of the year.
Okay, and so then we're going to see the expansion joint next year, or we've seen more work than the expansion joint next year?
Next year, I believe we would be looking to do the whole bridge because of the recommendation of the bridge inspections. That was following the recommendations to the expansion joints this year and the rest of the bridge next year.
Okay, and Edison Street?
Edison Street, another shade of bay that was early in the year, more large vessels going into Greenfield, which would have been right over top of that road. So we deferred that one with some of the plans for the road assets next year. Edison and the shade and pave, so the plan is with that to do shade 40 millimeters and lay 50 millimeters. That gives a double layer on Edison, which is much better for the heavy traffic and so forth. We have a couple other roads in Cardinal that we're looking at shade and paves as well. So to save on the mobility costs, put them all together, get the shading machine in, do them all up, and then hopefully do that with one, at least in one tender.
So one big program.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Good, thanks for the explanation. Continue, Treasurer.
So under storm management, I'll just talk to stuff that was completed in Q3 because a lot of the stuff hasn't changed, but as far as the Newport drainage, we have awarded the tender, engineering costs are booked and on track for October completion. Spencerville and Johnstown drainage are complete, all holdbacks released, just still working on some defect repairs, but other than that, those projects are done. The venture has been issued for the Johnstown. For waste transportation, the engineering design, we've seen some invoices coming for that. Wood heaters, that project is done. Truck replacement, a lot of that stuff has been the same since the last quarterly update. And really down for County Road 2 rehabilitation at the bottom. We've put just over 1.2 or 1.3 million dollars towards that project out of the 5.3. So now you've got a total, the 9.3 was our program, and with the revised capital for what's been deferred so far to 2024 will be 8.4. I expect with County Road 2 that there will be some paving that will need to be done in 2024, but the majority of all of the water and storm work.
Before we go any further, we're going to have a layer of pavement on Highway 2 for the winter, correct?
Correct.
Chair, that is the plan to have the first of the on, and then it'll be too cold to do the final lift, this year, that will, the final carry over in spring of next year.
Is there any potential that both lifts will get on or not?
I would say highly unlikely that both of us.
This would be a good result. Okay. Anyone else? Councilor Smith? Sorry, hold on, just give me 1 second. Were you finished? You're finished. Go on.
I was just wondering about the sidewalk, there'd be sidewalk, but not number two before the winter.
My opinion is curving sidewalk. It's most everything should be done, excluding the final lift.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so Cardinal Pool work is, I'm just trying to see my lines, and I think that same work is commencing on the Cardinal Pool, that's gonna be completed this year?
To the chair, portion of that, but all that's the manager of parks, to the chair of the council board, so. It'll be a two-stage process. Right now, they take all the coping and the tiling off. Coping is the white around the top, the tiling is the 12-inch tile. So that will all be, we start targeting today. And so when the coping and tiling back, the actual plaster, whatever, will be completed in spring. Look about 33%. Bigger project to be.
They made pretty good work of the nice weather.
Yeah, absolutely, they did, and they haven't run into any issues.
Just one thing on that too, if I may, Mr. Mayor, it will be ready for spring for the kids to use, Mike. Mayor Junior.
Yeah, we will be their first project in the spring.
Are we, everybody else? I just wanted to go back once and the T5 tandem. This is just a curiosity question. Driving by Rush on my way out, I think it's Rush on my way out past Kempville. There's 4 or 5 trucks there in the parking lot, and we're waiting 18 months still to get a truck. Like, are those for sale? Or they're already sold, not delivered?
Through the chair, chances are they ordered 2 years ago. Or potentially at least a year ago, the truck we have. And they told us that our staff that basically didn't chance to move up until January 1st.
There's not much you can do about it. I just was driven that road quite a bit lately, and I noticed there's an increasing amount of inventory on that lot. Now, you know, a lot of them are bright yellow, and I'm like,
Through the chair, that's not a recommended, so.
sure.
We're just. You also see a lot of people down, big, many different directions too, but unfortunately, it's a lot of them still.
Councilor Smith and Councilor Ward.
Just out of curiosity, through the chair to ground operations. Have you guys ever considered like reaching out to Ottawa or Cornwall or major cities? Like, I'm sure all them trucks are going to one spot. And you say it took 2 years to get here. When do you figure our next truck would be due? And should you maybe ask when Cornwall or Ottawa or something? So they're going to build more than one truck. When you order one truck, you're going to be the last guy getting it. What, there's a city that wants 24. So they might be allowed, but it's just a thought. I'll join them and see what happens.
Through the chair, this is coming from Cornwall. This
From the city of Cornwall.
it's coming from Cornwall. We have set up the different manufacturers, different suppliers, and in some cases, we still don't get a response for Peterbilt. We got a response this year.
Good job, then. Thank you.
Councilor Ward.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, touching on the economic issues that are going on in the world these days, I guess there's no opportunity to look to see if any orders have been canceled that we could try to jump the queue on, or I think we'd be willing to not cancel, obviously, if that was the case, but I don't know if that's something you guys want to look at, or if our sales rep would even be letting us know about it, for instance, right, so.
Through the chair, we could do something like that, but chances are there's 10 other people also doing it. More. it's just a backlog of something that's, working through with when you started. You know, vehicles and so forth. We got kind of a caught off the ball, in advance, 2 years in advance, you know, ordering, that's slowly, unless you have the money set aside in a year.
Delivery times are crazy. Okay, so moving back to the treasurer, and I think you have one more report to go.
Yeah, one more, so the reserve report. So again, on the top part of the report, there's no change. That only happens when I do the year end transfers and closing of some of those books. For the reserve fund account, see for the GSC investment, you see the 2.6 that came out, which was the original GSC maturing, and then the 1.78 we put back in. So we use the other proceeds to pay out expectable drainage project. With the industrial park land at 383,000, that is the Elantra land purchase funds that are in the account. We got our CCDF, so that's in there. I think all those were the same from last time, and then the dedicated capital reserve fund for the port. That's our Q3 capital portion of the $1 million management fee. So you'll see one more quarter go in there, which will put that to just over $1 million. And then if there is surplus that comes our way, then I'll add to that amount. So you will have approximately 1.5 million in that port surplus to spend next year.
Good. Questions in regard to the earmarked and reserve funds? Debbie?
Yes, year to date, right now, our industrial park land balance in our reserve is $861,990, Mr. Treasurer.
Correct.
Good. That's taken into consideration of 338 that went in last week. Okay, thank you. So we're in good shape, really, if we look at the bottom, total reserves, 6.9.
Yeah. 6.9 million of cash equivalent, and then the rest is just earmarked from the prior years.
Yeah.
Questions on the reserves? Anyone? Councilor Smith?
I have one question, and I was told when I was in grade 4 that any question is a good question. And the only reason I'm asking is because I have no idea what it means, so that's why I'm asking it. In the earmark reserves, to the chair, to the John, what is a tax write-off?
Tax write-offs are for a number of reasons. We issue the tax bill to somebody, and then supplemental comes back where there's a change. Someone files a request for reconsideration. We've already booked that tax revenue. So if that gets brought back or whatever, then we use that write-off account for that.
Thank you very much.
So that's what it's there for. It's there to give us, so it doesn't affect our income statement.
Thank you.
Last call. Okay, do we, looking at the clerk, do we pass these? Your information, right? Okay, so then we can move on to D, right? Okay, so third quarter budget variance report, and I believe that'll be the treasurer.
So yes, I'll give a little bit of verbiage around here before we look at the report. It's anticipated that we should be about 75% spent on the budget, with 25% remaining. Again, not everything moves in an even month. So in this report, it shows there's 42.08% of the budget remaining, which is excellent. And again, like I mentioned with the last report, all budget transfers from reserve have not been reported and will be reported in Q4. If say like $350,000 for the administration for the renovations. Since we didn't do the renovations, I'm not going to transfer it from reserve and then transfer it back. confidential, not gonna do the update. So I prefer to do all of those reserve entries closer to year end, when we know where it's actually come to wind up. So some few things to note in the revenue, again, year to date, the building permit is lower than budgeted, but activity is slowly increasing. Economic development, that's where you're going to see the revenue book and the offsetting expense book for the land sale. So it shows up as a revenue in the land sale, and then this gets transferred right to reserves. As per policy. Both dispensability and pension revenues are a little higher than two usage. This note about taxation revenue, it's a bit boilerplate, it is always there, but where 58%, I think, of the taxes that we collect stay within the township, we do have to remit the rest. So that never really shows up on our books. So the amounts that we remit to the county and to the school boards is offset against receivables. So that revenue is, you know, we book it all pretty much right when we build it. So you don't really see a lot of movement as the year goes on. Some of the variance on expenses, Public Works has the vehicle expense budget is 22.82% remaining, which is mainly due to the MTO inspections on vehicles, and we cover that on the council disbursements is where we saw some of those payments going out. And then the shop expenses, the fuel budget is 29.16% remaining, which is slightly above budget, which is a good thing. So as we go into the end of the year, we saw a healthy amount, and same with making control. So we have 27.47 remaining budget, which is good, and that's where we would like to be. As far as on the 4th page report, is there anything that sticks out that would require further information or further clarity?
So excluding the 384, I guess it is K for the economic development side of it. When you look at a lot of the revenues that, you know, on the first page, you know, we have a lot of areas coming up short. I guess the one that really jumps out at me is the parks that we planned for budget for 245K at $0. Is that something that's going to be recovered by year end? Is that? I don't think is that. I thought the reserves were the capital reserves were lower than that, so that's not a reserve issue, is it down there?
Just hold on for 1 sec. What
On page 44 of 74, probably. Yeah, 245.
Thank you.
I just see us coming up a little short on revenues. So I'm trying to figure out if that's just a timing thing as well, or
it would be time. Yeah, I could look into that further. See what revenue item.
okay,
forecast with that.
yeah. I'm sorry, but I meant to send you that, but my day got out in my hand already first thing in the morning, so I didn't get around to it. I apologize. So
It's good for follow. Yep. Further questions? Yeah. Thank the treasurer for the update. I think things look exactly where I would hope that they would be at this time of the year, with it being a ridiculous inflation year and a lot of uncertainties. I thought that we're at 74.14, or excuse me, not 74, that we're close to where we should be, I guess is probably the right way that I would say that. So thank you for the report. So yeah, keep it up. No, that's the reserve report. So where are we now? I've lost track of letters. I stopped scratching stuff out. So all right. So council remuneration report.
All right. So just to go over the remuneration as of 30th, under conferences, training, and development. There was that session with the integrity commissioner, so that is just split equally amongst all the council members as part of training and development. And as you can see, for remaining expense allowances, you budgeted 18,000. You got 15.3 thousand remaining, so very good shape for that, and everything else is on track. And with special meetings, that always gets booked right at the end of the year, so that's when we'll see all the numbers kind of move quite a bit, but there's no indications that we're going to be outside budget.
So questions on remuneration? Seeing none, I'm just gonna put a plug in here for conferences next year. So having attended both Roma and AMO, again, I've said it before to this group, this is where you see where your expenses, your allowance, your conferences, your mileages, there's money aside for everyone to go to training. Please use it, whether it's the Good Roads Conference, whether it's Roma, to attend the workouts or the breakout sessions, or whether it's AMO. There's a lot of valuable information that'll help you in your role. I know over the years, Councillor Hunter's probably attended lots of those conferences as well, and the last couple of years they haven't happened, right? I know it was hard for us, but I know over the last year I've gone to a lot, more than I did in 3 years. So, but you want to say anything to that or no?
Well, I think it's something that I know council, with all the councils I've served on, have always struggled with people to see on the report the money you spent. But it's something the ratepayers have to realize, especially your council this year with 3 new councillors that never served council before. You really need to go to these conferences. You'll learn a lot of it. You'll network with a lot of people. You'll learn a lot, get a lot of information. You'll bring home wraps of paper that you like to throw out because you won't read half what they hand you, but you'll never forget the talks you had with some of the people along the way. Plus the fact you gain a lot of information just from networking with councillors in Western Ontario. That's very accountable, not say that we're backwards. Western Ontario councillors are way ahead of where we were and work on. I don't know how the population and stuff, how they network with them there. They're not any further ahead of us on our administration. I think we rank one of the top in that. And there are councils over the years who are very progressive with technology and hiring and getting the right people in. But you will find out that every one of you will get complaints from people in the office. Well, what do you got all those people in the office where they don't understand the paperwork and the stuff that has to be done now that wasn't done 50 years ago when I first started counting. We had 2 people in the office. And we weren't over the work. 2 people now were the last 2 days in there until they either have a nervous breakdown or but we just can't handle it. I think the Good Roads Committee conventions years ago, I have to do the last 2 of them. They used to be stupid, especially for the roads people to go to. Like, send your Chris Gordon and these Good Roads Convention. The knowledge that we gain there, the new technology.
Yeah.
That's where you get the won't even be on the books yet, or the company selling new technology.
Yeah.
That's worth the money. Don't feel bad about it. At the end of the year, if you have $3,500, you use 3,300.
Yeah.
People's got to accept that money's got to be spent and want the council to do the best job they can do for them.
Yeah, and that's my point. Your experience there and having to go through that. I know it's always a goal to use as little of mileage for me as possible, but it's that money's there. It's already been earmarked for education, and we really need that as a group, right? So Okay, that's my plug for education. So,
Question, Mr. Mayor,
yes.
is there a schedule of upcoming conferences somewhere? Is that?
Well, I know Roma's first and Roma's January 21st to 23rd or something like that, right? So.
So I'm hearing Roma, I'm hearing Amos, or anything else? Can I go out and find my own conference, say, hey, I think this would be good, that I know this?
Chair, if you read your council protocols, we send it on a weekly basis, you'll see many different seminars, different webinars, different conferences that you're able to attend.
Yeah, if you ask the clerk will book for you, she'll take care of the bookings. If it's anything to do with Roma or anything to do with NAMO or anything to do with any one of those acronyms that come through correspondence, if you sign up, they will send, like I got one today for AMO. I can't remember what it was about, I read through it already. But they'll send you every single one, you'll get 1 or 2 a week that you can sign up for. So, you know, you just gotta sort of pick and choose what you wanna attend, or like, you know. There's a ton of information.
Oh, look.
Thank you. Okay, so no, we don't have to do anything with that, it's just information. So then F, I asked F to be removed. Mike, do you want to just present the report? Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the facility staff report in the first quarter, it's basically running July through September. And it's basically talking on the following buildings. Just a quick note, just indicate the ingredient arena opened on August 5th. And the Spencerville Arena opened on August 3rd after the fair. We have currently right now 2 slots available at the Cardinal Arena. That's Monday nights at 9:30 and then Saturdays 9 to 11 p.m. Those slots were filled last year. All opens are at the Spencerville Arena Mondays. Well, you can see the list and we went to Friday. Saturdays and Sundays is the biggest time. There are larger open apps. There are periodically some weekends that some of the associations that currently have rights from us are picking up a 2-hour slot here, 2-hour slot there. But it's not on the weekly basis. It's not actually, but they maybe have a tournament in one of the other weeks that they have ice and they don't have ice that weekend, then they'll take it for practice ice. The bulk of South Mountain Beach are playing Cardinal, there are some being playing Spencerville. Our South Kings do have 3 to 6 games a month in Spencerville. The lower levels, U9, U12. And Capital Minor Hockey, I haven't seen the other schedule. It doesn't until after it's released tonight. To see exactly how many games of their 20 hours a week that they must be playing. So a lot of it is just practice. So that's the slots that are currently available. I reached out to every resource that I have in my hockey room. And then the page 2 just shows the facilities for July, August, September. The meeting rooms, obviously, meeting room, and the South Center for July, August. For higher numbers, that's because of the and then the final page, the 3rd page is price rentals. And again, the rentals for the Spencerville Arena are just for the month of September, it's only based on the 120 hours size. The XD went to then the very bottom page just show the 9 pieces that was utilized in July and a couple weeks of August.
Okay. And just so I just, you know, for me, one of the things of note was, you know, the 60% and the 44%, you know, for the arena stats, you know, ice time, that there are ice times available. The booking, I don't know if that's considered good or bad, but I mean, ultimately, it's what it is. And there's ice time available, right? I think that's, yeah. So one thing that I found a little tiny bit confusing, in the budget report previous, it said the revenues were higher because of increased usage at the Spencerville Arena. And for canteen and for ice time. Is that going back to last spring then?
So the canteen, numbers are for all three. So where we really made had a good season was in, January, February, March. In having the,
Okay.
having the senior meetings, having the GBC playoffs. I mean, lots of cycles, having the alternative 4 days. The numbers that we did during that time, were better than we ever had before. So those numbers reflect that. The canteen numbers at the water this summer. Some days are good, some days aren't. It's not small. They're not open, the candy's not open anyway. But it is there. Services.
Good, thank you. I just, I thought the report should be presented first and.
Like, it's just one more thing, I reached out to Prescott. Last week, and I'm waiting to hear back with, what they've done, I think we should get together and have a conversation about. And she agrees to it, she didn't speak with her CEO.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting to hear back on this week, so hopefully sometime later, we'll be sitting down with Prescott. It's to discuss and go forward.
Yeah, I know on a political level that, the deputy mayor and I certainly have had, Laurie was here tonight, the Prescott mayor, we've certainly had those discussions about, what our role in that is. We believe it's a staff role, but certainly I think that we all believe those discussions need to happen and need to be ongoing, so. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for curiosity, Mike, and I'm not saying tonight enough, but could you give us a report on 2023 in September? You know what we got, the 43 and 57, if you can remember.
Pardon?
Could we have the ice rental on September 2022?
That's it.
Oh, no, that's 2023, just to compare where we are today to, from last year to this. Yeah, that's fine. I'd just like to have for my own record. Thanks.
Good. Questions, anyone? Okay, good, thanks. Okay, so we skipped G, we're down to H, is that correct? And who's presenting that one?
To the chair, just relaying the final activity for 2023 submitted by John Horton.
Give me a minute to find it here, sorry.
Page 55.
Okay.
I guess what I would note is that report was sort of reporting similar to Mr. Berry earlier this evening that with respect to the perch population, certainly we have not seen that return as hoped or anticipated. And similar with respect to the hunting season from September to December. It opens September 15th, and that's when sort of our program ceases at the same sort of juncture when the open season begins.
Yeah. Does anybody have a question? Yeah.
So good to know that I wasn't going nuts. I thought I read this somewhere this weekend. So when I read the first recommendation from Mr. Courtney, He sort of says the property damage was already done by the opening of hunting season for 15. I guess he wasn't actually asking for it to be looked at to be considered earlier, but I guess that's my take from that is there anything that can be done there? And I know it's probably an M&R thing, but you know, you know, just to his point, it's done by that time, right?
Yeah, good point. So here's a question. We have done, I know, I believe it was Councillor Cameron and the Mayor Sable, either at Roma or Emo, made a presentation to MNR in regard to cormorant control and to the call, if I remember correct.
I think it's Mayor Sayon and Mr. Courtney went together.
Did John go with him?
Yeah, I think they went together.
It doesn't matter who went here. My thought is that we've heard one delegation, I think, you know, we're in favor of the work. Everybody spoke to the value of it. Is it something that we can request again then for Roma? You know, I'm going to Roma again. I'd be happy to make a presentation to the MNR to Graydon Smith for Minister Smith for you know, for cormorant control and you know what the province, and ask what the province can do and submit what we've been doing and ask them for greater control. Try to lobby to get, you know, maybe some of the other municipalities on board.
I think that's their control is bringing the hunting season there. It's
Well,
15th,
but-
December.
So there's no birds left here in December, so getting it during, you know, expanding that season so that, right, the damage has been done by the 15th, that's what John's saying, so. Yeah, the idea would be to lobby them to expand that season, I think. So when we request.
Like the spring.
Yeah, in my mind, that was the discussion. The original discussion, I'm not asking you to remember, but in my mind, my memory was that it would end before the tourist season started in July or end of June. That there was gonna be a spring call and there was gonna be a fall call, but it wouldn't be during tourist times between July and August. But
Yeah, through the chair, certainly, can't recall the detail, but with respect to that, but I certainly would say that, potentially the delegation probably did, contribute, I would say to that fall, season, I anticipate that.
Yeah.
Certainly,
can we request one and then we'll put some information? I mean, it's in January. If we request one, then we can put some information together. Have a discussion with Mr. Courtney and thank Mr. Barry for his input and see what we can come together. So see what we can pull together so that we can do another presentation at Roma. I'd be happy, and I'm sure somebody at the table would be happy to help out with that as well.
It's just one last, I guess it's a question or statement. Is there anything else that can be done from Mr. Courtney, you know, recruiting extra help, for instance, or something like that? I don't know if that's gonna help or if that's, you know, where the interests lie, but I just think that it seems like it's paying off in the areas we're focusing on. So that's a good sign, obviously. He just, you know, he's one person, right? So I think it's hard to tackle that. I don't know if that's you know, it's not a question, but it is something that maybe gives some direction to see if there's an expansion possibility on there from the Trappers Gate. That's all. And I know that's tricky to deal with.
Yes.
Just for information, like, I don't know if everybody realizes not, but there's no bird license you have to kill the cormorants. No, you just need a small game license. Everybody said it, shoot it, you don't need to go like a bird license.
Okay, good. All right, so moving on. County Road to the Pincher report, back to treasurer.
So this one is an action item. But this, the background is the same as what's been on, the prior report. So, you know, we've got an estimated cost of about $1 million, including contract administration for the kind of project. Last directed, at the July 10th meeting, staff has sort of two options for financing and reporting results back. So, I've attached the rate sheets for both IO and Infrastructure Ontario and RBC. RBC, would be 6.18 annual rate, and amortized over a 20-year payment. Would mean interest in the principal payment of $9,434. Based on rates provided in Structure Ontario, would be 5.34 annual rate, and amortized over a 20-year period. The annual payment for interest in principal would be $84,441.60. So the total amounts of interest and principal paid over the term, Infrastructure Ontario represents savings of actually $119,064.63, and this is all borne by the Cardinal users, because they're the beneficiaries. So this would, when using reserves for this amount, it has to be specifically from the Cardinal reserves, and we are using a portion of the reserves for this. So given that second asphalt will be likely delayed until 2024, I wanted this eventually to be the last money in, so it's the last money out. That way we do have a bit of flexibility. We can look at this as far as in 2024, if we want to change the amount that we're paying, the project other than budget, we don't borrow as much. We can do that, but what staff is asking for is that they recommend for the treasurer to engage Infrastructure Ontario to secure a 20-year debenture. They will send them $1,030,000, $150 to complete the funding for the county of two projects.
Good, thank you, Sean. Are there questions and comments on this at all? Yeah.
We don't know when this is gonna be done completely. Probably, we'll say May of 2024 with their second lift. Can we wait until the 2024 to go and borrow?
That's what I would suggest, actually.
Yep.
Is to borrow this money in 2024, not 2023.
Right. But we're not guaranteed of the 5.34 either, are we?
No.
No,
That
the only thing that can change is interest and.
Correct. Correct. And I think when we went through the last debenture for Johnstown drainage, I think one of the questions that came up from committee was flexibility on repayment, and that is one of the things that you would get with taking a loan from CRBC, is you would have that option that you could work out some sort of prepayment schedule, that if you could do that. The reason why it doesn't work so well for this project is because it only affects a certain group of users. So if you were ever going to do a prepayment, it would have to come from those particular users in that particular budget. So I think from an administration point of view, that becomes very cumbersome to manage. However, it is worth noting for maybe a different discussion, like at strategic planning, or I'll try to put this into my presentation for pre-budget for 2024. But we do have the option of, for some of our bigger projects, say, entering into a financing agreement with Infrastructure Ontario to utilize construction funding. But then when the project is done, we can go and look and try and find a way to find something that might be a little more amenable to that kind of mortgage repayment, like especially if you're building a building or something of that nature, it might work. Or if you plan to borrow for loans, for instance, and then you want to start to put surplus towards that, you would have that flexibility to do that. So I think as we start to think about future projects, There are options that we can utilize based on the financial health of the corporation, which is very good. So, while I think sometimes the financial health has maybe excluded us from competing for some funding, this is where we can use it to the township's advantage and save a little bit on an interest carrying cost and only paying as we need the money coming in, and then once the project's done, look at another way to do a long-term finance. That was flexibility. Yeah, that came up earlier.
For sure.
So, may I?
Yes.
So, you're telling us to stay away from the bank and go with Infrastructure Ontario on this particular project because it's a user fee. Is that right?
And it's better interest rate.
It's been an interest rate, but I mean, it's 0.94. Right? Yeah, no, I agree. Now, can we see, or, well, who can see in the future, like, it's like, yeah, is it going down, is it going up? That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Yeah, and that's, you know, there are other options too. I mean, there's one of the options that I presented earlier was an internal prevention. So if we want to, we do have that 1.7 coming due at the end of January. That's why we went to the 180-day GIC to get advantage of a higher rate. So as we see what the finish line is going to look like, there might be a way that we can fund this differently, so those users don't have to take on that much debt. So there's, but anything that we use has to come from that dedicated
Of carbon.
of carbon.
Yes. Right, I agree. Okay. So are you saying then not to take the 5.34 wait until next year, 2024?
What I'm saying is we should start the process with Infrastructure Ontario. They won't issue a rate until about a week before the dimension closes.
Okay.
So that is one of my questions. I was gonna say, can we secure it now and renegotiate if rates go down? So that's the other thing. And so then the other one is with the RBC one, for instance, or with any bank one, that 6.18, is that also locked in for 20 years, or is that every 5 years we can review? So, right, so in other words, if the interest rate goes down, because I think, you know, when you look at some of our other debentures, the 5.34 is one of the highest ones, so one of the highest ones I have on record right now. And so that would get better over time, but I suspect then so would the rate from a bank like Major Banks, for instance.
It's a guess.
Yep.
And I think where the with that debenture, you would set a fee once, and then it would be part of the budget moving forward. So there's not there's predictability to that's the that's the one benefit, and that's what Infrastructure Ontario is there for, is for projects of an infrastructure nature that are long-term assets for the township. Whereas I think if we were building a new building, whenever that building may be, the advice I would give as treasurer would be a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess that's the question, right? I mean, it's not a question, it's more of a, just, you know, saying, I can say this because I can, but, you know, in 5 years from now, when everybody votes for renewal, if the rates are down to 3.5% or something, then we just wasted some money on interest essentially. Or we could decide in 5 years to, you know, let's do an internal debenture at that time if you want to. Also, we lose that option when we lock in for 20 years. So that's the only thing. Yeah, we don't have to decide that until about a week before we want to go forward. Is that true?
Just the Infrastructure Ontario process is a little organized. So it's better to get the process going, and then if things change.
We can still back it up to that week before.
We don't have to.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's fair.
So I need a mover for a recommend, well, everybody's comfortable with what that recommendation, sorry, John, did you want to add to that? My apologies.
Well, just. One big benefit of the. Because you're setting, it's just Ontario, with the council, when you're setting your budget, you only set one. People complain when you go to break it, with one fence back to Ontario, there are times out that did a lot better. Going someplace else, but yes, for 2 years, we paid a higher rate than we could have got from the bank. You look at it now, we're saving 1.5%, and we're probably going to up again in December by all the March, we're probably going to get another 0.25% hike in December, so. People got carried away here, let's low interest rate for 4 or 5 years, and that's. Not low interest rate, that's basic, but the treasurer agreed with 2.5 to 3% interest rate is unsustainable in a country. You can't operate on that low of an interest rate, it just doesn't hold. You pay all my years in business, I borrow money all the time. On the average, you get money between 7 and 8%, so you're doing great. As long as you can borrow under 10%, you make money and get a hit. Then skyrocket 18 to 20%, and that's what forced this downturn of 3% interest for a while. Can't sustain, businesses can't sustain a 1.5 or 2 or 3% interest rate. It's gonna balance out. Most people figure it about 5.5% for the interest rate balances out. More 4.34, 5.34 now. You lock in 20 years, I think the rate figures are a lot safer than taking a gamble, but you pay 6 for a while, it's going to drop back down. I don't see it dropping. Treasury rate, but I don't see it dropping back down below that rate of infrastructure in Ontario offers right now. Wait for it to run pay next year. So.
Yeah. No, that's good. Thank you for that, Mr. Hunter. So there is a recommendation. The recommendation reads that committee recommends that council direct the treasurer to engage Infrastructure Ontario to secure a 20-year debenture payable semi-annually in the amount of $1,030,150 to complete the funding of the County Road 2 project. Is there further discussion before I ask for a mover? All right, hearing and seeing none, I need a mover for that recommendation. Moved by Councilor Martel, I need a seconder. Seconded by. Oh, all right, Deputy Mayor Dillabaugh. Is there any further discussion on this? Great, so it still has to be approved to council, and then we have the option before it's actually done with IO up to the week before, you said, right, of changing that recommendation. So or changing even the right, because we could be creative in ways to fund it other than that. Right, okay, so this just gets the ball rolling and helps with that on our students. All right, so if there's no further discussion, then I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Excuse me, good. All right, Scott Road transfer site. I did look that way. Mr. Shaw.
Alright, so this is an action item, in regard to the Scotland transfer cycle. Last year, this year's budget included, a percentage of $22,000, I believe, $22,000. For the design of the new Scotland transfer site. There's been discussion in the past, basically in regard to moving the site. It's been under the scrutiny of the MECP in regards to the size of this current site. And from 2013, when they looked at the site and perceived with reaching capacity. P2G consultants undertook a study to evaluate 3 sites for potential establishment of a permanent site. And after a site selection process, they filed a response report and outlined the preferred location was the Scott Road site, basically the Blair on open road limits. So, last year we budgeted to get design done. We are at the 60% design currently, and the design is before council tonight to review and see if that's how they want to go and proceed with the final design, or if there's some modification they want to be changed the site. There's a copy of the 60% design drawings attached for review. One notable difference from the very original, which was a very high level design, is that the engineers thought perhaps moving the site back towards the 401 farther, to take advantage of the higher elevations there, would be the best approach. And that's outlined in this in these drawings. So moving back farther to the 401, there's a deposit site for the various collection spots, scrap metal, the rubble, brush, etc. on the east side of the road, and or sorry, yes, east side of the road and the west side of the road, the ramp for depositing road refuse.
Good. All right, so discussion, questions, comments on the transfer site. Karen, anything?
No, not for me.
Councilor Martel? Nope. Deputy? Nope. Councilor Smale?
Yeah, you just have one for the director of operations. Are we, will we be able to still burn brush on the new site?
Yes. That's the other thing that's possibly moving with this arrangement. We could put the brush pile closer to the Blair Scott Road intersection, get it right away from all the other stuff. And so that the prevailing east west or west will take it. So it's not, you know, head to the 401 or going to transfer sites.
Thank you.
Councilor Ward?
I mean, this is just a design phase, obviously, right? Is there, so like down the road, is there gonna be like a consultation with public and everything else, or what's the process look like? Do you know, or not sure?
I believe there's been a consultation phase originally back when the new site design was being developed in 2015. I think Mr. Ward or Mr. Hunter would know that number there is
Reading around that date.
Yeah, so we could do it again if you wish, but I think it's in their best interest of the public to get away from that landfill. You're basically doing burns on top of the pile of fuel, just years and years of fuel separated with the dirt leg. You want to get away from the tires, all that stuff separated, get it apart, make room. I believe last year or last terms of council had some suggestions of potentially we're looking forward years to come, opening a sorting site or something that may be a benefit to the township. That would help provide all that room. Getting things separated, that type of facility that we put closer to the Blair Scott Road. It just makes a lot more room. Currently, the arrangement, the contract with the Wingard is they've decided to go a different direction, so we're going to be taking on larger homes in an already crowded area. So we have to staff are currently looking at it. How can we adjust things? We need more bins. How can we fit them in there? Try and still keep things at a safe distance from each other and allow residents to travel through and deposit the stuff that they need for now. So looking at that, we've got new subdivisions planned, more population, there will be more stuff and more room required just to do it safely. The new design also takes in more permanent codes. Back in the original day, there was codes, now there are stickers, rails and stuff like that for that side of the ramp, gates, different things like that. So the original cost was projected at about $225,000 in 2013, and the costs now are $306,000. So it's not terrible, the increase, but that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, no, and through the chair, it was just more of a how recent is it? And this is This is just a transfer site and it's, you know, that's a good point to notice as well. And I mean, and I think the reality is, I think you touched on it as well with other potentials that our neighbors is over in Augusta there. They have a pretty good setup there, which is something to look to as an inspiration, to be honest. I think you go there and it's like you can do so much more with the way they have that laid out. And so, you know, that sounds good. I just wanted to know sort of what if it was recent and what consultation looked like. So thanks for that. That's pretty appreciated.
Glad to see you're moving forward. My project started years ago. Derailed through a lot of budgets. Settlement there, but I think it's. And as you said, Augusta does have a site, but very much does Augusta was planning that site to do. It's like they need to get it approved, but I close to the road. This site would always been my pick, it's back, it's out of sight. There's a good road into it, nobody has to look at it, the site you got now, every time you drive up around by, and no matter how well the boys try to keep it under control, there's stuff loaded out, and people throw stuff, drop stuff out of the gate, stuff out, at least if you go back, you know, along the road back, all that stuff gonna be out of sight, and township had more time to deal with it than they do when it's right out in front of it. Just makes sense to get it back and, as you say, the road. Subdivisions coming, there's gonna be a lot more stuff going on. Quicker you get it done, the cheaper it's gonna be. Regulations aren't gonna get less.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, I just, a couple more questions, Gordon. When's the completion date for this?
There's no completion date set at this time because right now we're just in the design phase. We like that 306,000 very high level, and that's a facility. That's not necessarily we have to bring some more fill in stuff, which we can look at on the whole. So basically, this is to get with the final design. They'll do all the tweaking stuff, and then they can possibly come up with a more accurate estimate of the actual. The cost they did put together probably pretty relatively good because it's based on stuff they've done last year. So there's a copy of the breakdown that they went through and started recent projects. It will be close, but then again, it's like Hunter said, the longer it goes on, they keep elevating. And it's surprising that it hasn't been much more considering the Jones stuff. And you know, it's back in 2013 to now. Amazing that doubled or something.
I was just inquiring because I noticed that the dump on Saturday and the boys were putting gravel down and everything. I'm thinking, well, why we putting money into this one? You're going across the road when it's closing date. Now I understand if you just keep it, didn't be worked on. Good enough. Thank you.
good. Yeah, my 2 cents, you know, I think the recognition of the potential, or at least allowance of the potential expansion, I think is, you know, good. It's a good thing. I mean, our townships are gonna get smaller, so they're gonna get bigger, and the need for this is only gonna grow and grow and grow. And if it's, you know, as long of term as what the old dump was, you know, I remember going there as a kid. So if this is planning to be there that long, you know, it's gonna be long out of date, you know, by then. So allowance for the ability to grow and to be, you know, a little more fulsome as needed is, I think that's relevant and good. So, okay, so is there an action on this, Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
And let me go back to it then. Alright, so recommendation, yes, is that committee recommends that municipal council, 1, review the 60% design and associated estimates provided by JP2G and direct staff, and 2, direct staff to advise JP2G of any changes and proceed with final design. So with that, I need, if there's further discussion on anybody's part.
Just through the director of operations, Mr. Hunter brought up a great point, you know, the garbage being left at the gate. Is it safe to assume there'll be some sort of security system with this new build with cameras at work, stuff like that. Having worked there, I'm sure I picked up as much stuff and brought it on the other side of the gate as you have. Frustrating.
Through the chair, currently in this design, we don't have that, I mean, we could add, we could wish to do there, and be better running power back, and different things like that. There is a gate, and the office in the plan, which would be something like the sea container, converted to whatever, so, they can keep their paperwork and so forth. And if we don't hear them, but that would certainly be something we're looking into. I don't know that, people decided, people with the fence, and just, they're wider, stuff like that. To keep somebody out of this, kind of desolate place. So for the security to be extended down the road, it may be that the site needs to be open more. That's somebody back.
It's more the, the stuff that's dumped by the edge of the road and right in front of the gate that I'm talking about.
Yep, no, all good points.
Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Did you want to weigh in?
I think just one comment is that I've heard it 2 or 3 times tonight that innocent enough with respect to dump, but is it
Landfill.
no longer a landfill site?
The former dump.
So it's a transfer site, so any products coming in are either with respect to the brush are burned off or transferred off for proper disposal. So, and that's what the new site would be. It's a holding location before transferring off. So just so that there isn't any confusion to the reviewing of the meeting.
It's good, good. I think it's worthwhile noting that those. I probably said that, didn't I? I stand corrected. The place formerly known as the dump. Okay. So there is a recommendation then, and we can still discuss further. Again, it'll come back to us at council. If we so choose, we can further, if Councilor Martel wants to, make a suggestion to change to add, CCTV or something like that to the design, that he can bring that forward.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, we'll certainly take some of those comments back and indicate that to JP2G with respect to the incorporating some of those items into that final design.
Okay, this is just the 60%.
It's just the 60%.
I think we like what we see so
far. More or less making sure that at the 60% stage that we're not
way out.
left field, that we're approaching the right direction.
Right. No, good point, and it is the 60%, and we'll find out here shortly when I call the question finally. So if there's no further discussion, seeing none, hearing none, I'll call the question then on the recommendation as it is. All in favor? Good, unanimous. There we go. All right, inquiries and notice of motion.
I'm not sure you had a mover.
Oh, sorry, I did not have a mover in a second. Did I not? Did you not move it? You second?
I think we did finish it.
I thought he did 9 seconds.
No, that was the last one.
Oh, okay.
That was the last one. Oh, okay, sorry, my apologies. All right, we'll take your pick. Who wants to move? Sorry, I had to screw up once a meeting, it's normal. Moved by Councilor Smale, seconded by Councilor Martel. I guess I have to call the question then again.
You see how we dumped it on?
Yes.
No, I can see your head.
I transferred it. The question, all in favor? Still unanimous. There we go. All right, now moving on to councilor inquiries and notice of motion. Anybody have an inquiry or notice of? Wow, that might be, can we note that? That might be a first. I wanted to give them ample time. Mayor's report. We'll say 3 things. One, that a group of us, I don't know if it was everybody, attended the affordable housing seminar in North Grenville. It was fantastic. A lot of really good pertinent information. It was really nice to hear for Minister Calandra and the changes that the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing will continue to make as we move along towards trying to do whatever we can as municipalities to help in to help get more homes built faster. To that same day, Deputy Mayor and I attended the commissioning and the completion celebration at Greenfield Global of the new high I know it's VHQ, right? Very high quality alcohol, 99.99% pure alcohol gets shipped around the world. There's no one else that makes as pure of alcohol from corn, from ethanol as what that facility in Johnstown does. At that time, they said that the design had spiraled from 65 to 70 to ultimately 100, a staggering amount, $165 million worth of investment by Greenfield Global to move away from just fuel, but to many, many, many different applications of that. And it's made right here. The best alcohol in the world is made at that facility in Johnstown. It's fantastic for Greenfield Global, and they continue to work towards being a net zero company. Their commitment to their employees and to their and to our environment is fantastic. So, you know, well done to the group at Greenfield Global. And the last thing that I will say is I hope to see everybody. I think we may have a meeting before this, but I'll say it tonight anyways. St. Lawrence King's Day is on Saturday, October 21st, correct? And that's at the Cardinal Arena again. Ingredion Arena. That's right. They just signed a new agreement for that. So that the Ingredion Center in Cardinal. I'm not sure what time it starts at, but do you know offhand?
The first week at 9 AM and it goes right through to 11 o'clock.
Yeah. Right through till the night. I know that I've been asked to do a puck drop at 11:30 or something like that. So welcome everybody. I hope that you come out and celebrate King's Day at the arena. And that's it for the mayor's report. The next would be question period. There's no one online. We do have Mr. Mallon in the gallery. Any questions, Mr. Mallon? None? Good. We're happy to have you here. We're thankful to have you here as well. So no questions. There's nothing from media or anything like that at all, correct? Or citizen questions. All right, then we're going to move to a closed session. Is there someone who has the I don't have it written, so who has the motion to go into closed session? Is that you? Okay, so if you can move that motion, then Councilor Smith. Move the motion.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Chris Ward. Committee proceeds into closed session at 9:19 in order to address a matter pertaining to section 2239 2B, personal matters about an unidentifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically succession planning, recreation, public works, environmental services.
Good, so we will move into closed session once I call the vote. Is there any discussion on going into closed vote? No, then all in favor? Good, we're closed session. I'll take a 5-minute. Also attend.
You're good to go. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Chris Ward, that the closed meeting of the committee does now adjourn and the open meeting does now resume at 9:57 PM.
Thank you. Then I will call the question and coming back into ending the closed session, coming back into the open. All in favor? All right, we are back in open session and reporting out of closed session. Council met in closed session to discuss section 239 2B personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically succession planning, recreation, public works, and environmental services, and provided the CAO with direction. There's nothing else other than reporting out, and I need a mover for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Smale, seconded by Councillor Ward, all in favor of adjournment, we are adjourned. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay, but it's done now.
What time did we do that at?
9:58.
There you go, sir.
Shut off, sorry.